So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream with live peoples having a chat, having a natter in the chat. There's also recorded live for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. And just a couple of housekeeping things. This isn't a top quality video because it's recorded in high definition. But when it transfers from Ustream to YouTube, it loses that. So the quality is never normally as good as a video that's not live, unless it's obviously live from YouTube. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for liking and subscribing and comments that you make. So today I am working in my animorphia, which I've had for quite a while, and it gets neglected because I buy new colour books and I forget that I really shouldn't buy any more new colour books. I should stick with one book and finish it. So I've got a damp baby wipe, and I'm actually using my No. 1derwent water brush because I find it's the smallest, and if you don't kind of jiggle it around too much, it's not going to give out a lot of water. So once you've dried it on a baby wipe, if you just kind of use the tip, you find you don't get rushes of water. So it's the driest one I've found. Now that technique might work for other brushes as well, but I like my Derwent No. 1. It keeps the pages from buckling, and it just gives enough water that you can manoeuvre the paint around. And the paint I'm going to use today is my Neocolor 2s, which I keep in my Derwent art bag sleeves. Now they do actually go in the Derwent art bag, but when I'm using them when I'm streaming live, I take them out and I flip them because it's a lot easier. I've also I haven't decided, I found a couple of these little plastic cheap, I think they're for acrylics, or they're for anything really, these little palettes, and they're flat, and actually I prefer them flat because you don't waste too much colour then. And again, I want to use every scrap of colour I can, so as a tight Yorkshire lass, I don't like the fact that most of my colour ends up on my palette, which I then wash down the drain. So another reason I use this water brush is that I like the technique of every scrap of colour actually ends up on the page and not in the water pot. So I'll zoom in and you can see how we can colour our Mr. Fox. Now Ustream was misbehaving last week, so let's hope it's going to be a bit better behaved today. I know we shouldn't complain too much because it is a beautiful free service, but that's not always the best thing. So I'll just kind of sharpen that up a bit. Oops, missed, sorry. That's okay. And the other thing I kind of do is move things about a bit, so I need quite a lot of space on my... I'm going to leave the fox last and start with all these little creatures that are in the fur. So I'm going to use this, I'm going to pop that onto there so you can see what colours I'm using. There's some really nice turquoise and teal colours, so this one is turquoise green, No. 191. So you can either scratch a little bit of colour like this, or you can touch this and get the colour, or I like this particular way, I think, is you just touch a little bit of colour just in the centre where you want it the darkest, and then you get the water brush and you manipulate the colour out, and every time you have to clean the brush And again, you do waste a little bit this way, and I don't like it normally, but you can see there is a dot of colour, and what happens is you get a watercolour effect, and I really like that. Now I have, look, 3 spots of colour that I've wasted, so I don't really like that, but you can't help it with this particular way of doing things. And I think we'll have the blue jeans. Now this way I'm just going to touch a little bit of colour on the end, tiniest bit of colour you can see there. And this is number 155, blue jeans. I put the crayon back, and then I'm just going to fill that in, and it should go to a highlight at the end, and I'm going to just fill the head in as well. And again, there is a spot. So we've got some nice flowers there. Now I normally have when my Neos are in the bag, they are in this position. So they go from yellow, orange, red, pinky red, pinks, purples, blues, cold blues, and then you turn them over and we've got pale greens to dark greens to olives. And then at this side I've got flesh and browns and greys and whites. And I find that's the easiest colour order. So I kind of fancy, or the other thing you could do is have them in front of you. That's sometimes another thing that I do, which I may do today, I think, is actually put them in front of me and have the palette at the side. It plays havoc with the camera then though, but never mind. Oopsie. It's always difficult with a live stream. And I'm just looking for the right colour. Kind of like this orange. This one is number 50. And again, just a touch in the centre. Make sure the brush is squeezed, the water comes out, and then twist it on a baby wipe so you get your point and you've taken most of the colour off. And then just manipulate the colour, and as soon as you get to a watercolour, you can manipulate it into a watercolour effect. And in fact, I'm actually not going to do that because it's getting on my nerves, I think. I normally work from my little book of colours, and I find that easier. So I'm going to go around, and because if I don't find all these colours, I forget what colour I've used, so apologies, I've got short-term memory loss, and so I'll forget. And actually I think there is only one of those, which is most unusual, but there is only one, and I think it was actually a leaf, but I've just immortalised it as a flower. So I'm going to use this number 80 carmine, and I'm just going to put a little bit, literally dots of colour. And if you can't have a point, turn it over and you've got a sharp edge, and that will give you more control. And a little goes a long way, so you're going to touch this, and you're going to get the palest pink on the outside. And it's going to I like doing this with the hydrus better, but I shall do that in the next video. So if I need more flowers. Again, there doesn't seem to be any more. So now we've got one of these wacky creatures. think we're going to have royal blue, number 130, and I think it's going to be kind of just scratch the tiniest bit of colour. Now these neos are really well pigmented, so they kind of just melt as soon as you put a paintbrush near them, so you don't have to worry about lines, or because they just, and it's a watercolor, so it'll reconstitute, and you can kind of manipulate it around a bit, as much or as little as you want. It's a good idea not to touch too much, because it's only paper and it'll go through, so you only get normally a chance to just do it once. I do like the dark clouds, and I like indigo for that. So I've got indigo blue 139, and if you just scratch a little bit of colour where the cross hatching is, especially with Kirby Roseanne books, that gives a good indication of where the dark should be. So we can take that really pale and then manipulate that back round. And still kind of keep a little bit of darkness where that cross hatching is. And that really wants to morph into a reddy brown. Now that was a bit pinky actually. I thought my indigo blue was darker than that, but indigo in 1derwent pencils is a very dark cold blue, and this is a bit of a purple grey, so I like the darker one better, but it's done now. So there's another one here, so it might be a good idea to get rid of all the clouds. Sometimes I do that with it's not a difficult page, but it's busy, and you know, you just got to kind of pick things off, and sometimes the clouds are the easiest to pick off, and then once you get all the clouds you can normally see where everything else is. Now I'm leaving that because I want it to be paler, and by the time I've taken all this round here, it's now going to be a lot paler, and so it's given me a nice highlight. Again, I don't like the fact that I'm wasting these little bits, but if you don't do that, you end up with a lot of colour on your brush, and you can't get that highlight effect. If you're not bothered about the highlight effect, don't wash the colour off, just keep going. But if you want that watercolour effect, you need to let that brush dilute that colour. And again, I want that to be the darkest and that to be the palest, and then here. And some look like fur and some look like clouds. Oopsie. So it's a very easy, quick way. You're using hardly any water, so you can do this in hospital or if you're waiting at the doctor's. And because the page, I can't do that one just yet, but this one's dry, almost instantly. So again, that's another nice thing about it. You don't have to sit with your page open or get a hairdryer out. You can just... And one thing you could do, but you'd have to probably put a little bit of paper, greaseproof paper or tracing paper on here. But you could scratch all this colour here where you wanted it. And especially with the Neos, because they get very, very soft very quickly. You could put some greaseproof paper or tracing paper on this page and shut the book. And then just take the water brush and your book and leave all the crayons at home. And then when you get where you're going, all you need to do is open the book and just colour it in, because it's not going to dry because it's already dried. So you could colour the whole book with spots of Neo colour. And you could do the same with 1derwent watercolour pencils and Inktense pencils. You mustn't wet the Inktense pencils first, because when they are fast, when they're dried, they are fast. But you can scratch the pencil on first, no problem. And if you're going somewhere hot or you're going to the beach and you don't want to take your gorgeous, precious Neo colours, you don't need to. As long as you've covered it up. If you shut the page, that's going to smudge because it's pure colour. But if you put a piece of greaseproof paper or baking parchment between, and of course once you've activated it and it's dried, it's fine. It's just while it's in this state here as a crayon, you will get a little bit of contamination on the other side because they are so well pigmented. And apologies, I'm not sure. I think chat's actually behaving itself today, which is quite unusual. Oh, hi May, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? If anybody's got any questions, pop them in caps. I sometimes get quite carried away when I'm doing this. So again, I've got a bit of dark under here, but then I've got a light cloud in front. So if I just do this, I can go over the top and it's going to give me a highlight. And that sorted out the bunny ear. She must have bunny ears on. Don't ask me why. So right down here we have another cloud. So again, just want to scratch the colour so we can manipulate it around. Now I'm not cleaning the brush because I'm going into a dark area. If I needed a highlight, I'd have to take that colour off, but seeing as I don't want to do that, I want this dark because it's underneath something. So once you get the hang of it, you can start to think about light and dark and sun shadows and shades. And if I take all this round, that's going to give me a nice highlight. And it's not a perfect watercolour effect, but it's not flat colour, so it works quite well. I found another one under there as well. And apologies for my lighting, it's not brilliant. And you probably find that if you take it to its lightest, you have no colour left anyway. So you're not wasting anything, you've used it all. And again, as a tight Yorkshire lass, I kind of like that idea that you're not wasting anything. And I think this is fur, so I have decided on what to do. That looks like a splash, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do sea. Somewhere there must be a dragon head because that's a dragon body. So we've got a feather here, so I might use quite a bright. Oh, there's two feathers. And as you see, if I just do this, there was a tiny bit left on there, but now that's clean. So I can safely go to another colour. Now I'm sure I'm going to find some more clouds, so I'm going to leave that crayon out. Normally I put them away. I think I like a turquoisey colour. It's a turquoisey blue. And again, I'm just going to put a bit of colour on the feather. bit of the green there. I think we could possibly have, so that was number, the turquoisey green was 191, and the blue is number 71, but I don't have the name because it's not an ordinary colour. It's not an ordinary near colour. It's a near colour that I've had many years before it was a near colour, if that makes any sense. So I'm not sure if they've kept the same colours, but again, just going to manipulate that, and then if you're not particularly bothered, we can do this and activate that, and then it'll go pale at the top, and activate this one. And again, this is a really quick, and that purple mixed in straight away, but it gave me a really nice shadow, so that was quite nice. So they're just a bit different. There's a bit of a shadow, and there's some of these greens. Now I do like this particular one. I always do olive. I'm rather boring. I use my olive greens. So this one is number 249 olive, and I might just actually put a strip right up the middle on there, and then again twist the brush to make sure it's clean, activate this, and if you activate a little bit at a time you should get a watercolour effect. And that's just that bit nicer than having it dead flat colour. Oh, thank you. Well, see, it is fairly easy, but the best thing to do is to photocopy a page or play with a page that you really don't like and you think you'll never colour because it's the right paper. And then once you've got the technique going, you can do it on any paper. Photocopy paper is the best. I use the technique, I think I used it for my colour page. And again, I don't like the colours, but what it's done is it's allowed me, I'll just pan out and you can see what I've done. And it's fairly quick as well. So I've been messing about with a few doodles, and I wanted to sketch. This is watercolour sketching paper, but I didn't know if I'd finished it or if I liked it, so I coloured it on a piece of photocopy paper. Now it's gone through in some places. And some colours I didn't like, and some colours I absolutely hated, and some I thought, well, I could work on that. A lot of these colours I really didn't like, but at least I had a play at seeing the image in colours. Now I would probably not do pinky red ones, I'd do orangey red ones for my toadstools. So it taught, and I won't do bright coloured butterflies because I don't like them. So by doing a photocopy page, I mean, you can do what you like with this, it's a photocopy. You haven't spoilt the original. And that's the same with doing this. It's always a good idea to photocopy it. The first book I got was the Colin Thompson one, and I photocopied it, and I spent all weekend, 2 full days, just colouring a photocopy. And of course the beauty of that was I could fold the photocopy paper up and I could leave the book at home. So I had less things to mess about with, and I actually did it with my little book of watercolours, but it meant that I could do that, and I hadn't spoilt the proper page. And again, even though I've just practicing with colours, I realised I didn't like the vibrant colours. I wanted to do them very pale colours, and so you sort out, you get the technique right, you get the right amount of water, because if you can do watercolouring this way, with just a barely damp brush or a rigger, if you can do it on a photocopy paper, then you can do it on most papers because it's the thinnest. So it's good practice, and you're also practicing with your colours and your colours next to each other. So by the time you've done a full page of practice, you will then go to your book and you won't be scared. You would think, well, actually I like that colour, I'll use that colour, or I didn't like that colour last time, so I'm not actually going to do it because I'll ruin it. And you get to know your colours, and you also get to know your pages as well, because every page is different. These are quite okay. The best ones are the Hannah Carlson and the John Basfords. They're quite good papers, and these are quite good as well. But the things like the Bennett Kleins, they are gorgeous. But I print them out on extra thick paper, not on photocopy paper, because I don't like the effect it gives me. And once you've started to play about with photocopy paper, you get a hang of what you like and what you don't like. So I hope that made sense. So again, you know, I've not done much, but it's fairly quick. We've only been going a short while, and it's fairly quick. Sorry about the tapping. It's my laptop's having a moment, so the touch screen's not working. Where were we? We were doing the clouds. We're doing the olives. So again, you can go through this book, and you can put the greens and the purples and all the colours in this book. You pick out all the olives. Find any more olive branches. Well, technically it's not an olive branch. Now I've missed this bit down here, so I'm just going to put a little bit down there. And because that's in shadow, I can put that leaf in shadow. I put an extra bit of colour on there. So I'll do that one first. And that's given me a shadow, because obviously the feather's above it. So you can get little things like that. Again, you don't have to do that. You can just do it flat colour if you want to. Colour books are very individual things. It's a bit like jewellery. You know, it might suit you, but you might not like it. So everything's got to be to your liking, and that's why I colour in different water mediums. Although I do sometimes use oil pastels and acrylics. Most of the time I do it because it's the easiest for my hands, because I've got arthritis. So you have to work with what you've got. There's no point trying to do something that you know your hands won't do. And this is a lovely soft brush, and it's quite chunky as well. This is another reason why I like it. It's easy to hold. My thumb doesn't work, so if I had a brush I'd have to do this, because my thumb doesn't work very well, but I can manipulate this, and it's just basically stroking the page, and that is so much better than having pencils where you've got to scratch, because pencils are too thin. And I know you can get holders for things, but you know, if you're going to take that off and put the holder back in and take it back off again, it's going to be a long time. So apologies for the noise. We have a bark alert. So hopefully that's disappeared. This is number 20, golden yellow. Sorry about that, it's our bark alert. Now I've got a little bit of yellow on there, so I'm actually just going to go around this cheese and tight Yorkshire lass, I don't like to waste anything. So from here I've got that colour and it looks a different yellow, and it probably is. The other thing about the Neos is, you know, you don't have to buy hundreds of them. Just buy 2 or 3 of each colour, and then you can mix them, and you can, you'll probably find that if you dilute one of these, you'll get all these. And I found that with the greens. So you don't have to have every colour, especially if you're using water-based medium, because you will probably find the colour is in there somewhere anyway. And I think I used, no, I didn't use fast orange. I didn't use flame red either. I can't remember what colour I used now. I think it was just orange. I've lost my flower. There. So again, just a little bit of colour here. And that one is number 30, orange. But as I say, some of mine are quite old. And some of the stick ones I've had a long time. The flesh tone I've had about 20 odd years. And they just arrive in stick form. So again, manipulate the colour around, and then if you take it where it's the darkest, by the time you get to the top you have a natural highlight. I'm going to leave that envelope white. That looks like it could be a flashy coloured teals and green birds, so I'm going to have blue, and I can put a bit of this green turquoise, and that's all you need colour wise. You do not need a lot. These are very well pigmented. Oh, hi Claudia, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else pop in and I've missed? Hope I said hi to everybody. This is a live stream with live people. I forgot to clean my brush, so I had a touch of yellow in there. Now luckily it didn't matter, but again, you've got to remember to do things. And then we can take that round and down. Sorry about the light. And if I'm on an edge, I usually have a piece of paper. And again, it's not precious, I can just put that under there. And if you can go over then, and you're not contaminating the page behind, and you can actually see you've got a good edge there. And that wing is going to do the same. Steal a little bit of that colour and then when you take that away, you realise you haven't actually drawn blue on any of those. Just want to manipulate that round a bit so it's better blended. And then you squeeze. If you're using a very bright colour, you need to squeeze the brush and it goes clear. And we have a butterfly there, so I think we're going to have a bit of a purple butterfly going on. So this is number 110, and I'm going to put just a little bit there, and I'm going to be using 130, and I think I'm just going to put a little bit there, and then I can manipulate, and again that's all you need. Just scratch a bit of colour. So we'll do the purple first. And I think I'm going to actually take it all the way around, and then it's given me a third colour without doing anything, and actually missed the other side of the petal. There we go. So we've got our little butterfly going. Now I do have a little bit of purple on there, but I haven't seen anything, but there's a little man with a hat there, so I think he's going to have a very pale, and look at that gorgeous pale purple from that deep blue. So you can get some gorgeous colours from one colour, and that's without mixing, so you can really get a lot of colours from just a few basic colours. You don't need the full 200 and odd set or whatever it is. Sorry, it's 84, wasn't it? Although I did find in a shop in London, in the out suburbs of London, I did find the tin with 126 in it, and it was £299. This is Caran Dash 229, and it's dark green. And again, manipulate that. Do the darks first, and then you'll have the highlight on top. And I've missed that dark green leaf there. Now the brush was a little bit wet, but we'll dry it off a bit. I think there'll be some more green leaves, big leaves somewhere maybe, perhaps not. I do kind of slide mine back into the place where they are because I find that a bit easier. We found any more clouds yet? Oh, we've got another fish. So I think again we've got a fish that's kind of bright colours. And this is what I do. I just poodle along and scratch a bit of colour. And just kind of and just scratch a little bit of colour. That's just a light scratch, that's not a deep scratch because I don't want it to be too dark. So again, make sure my brush is clean. And we're going to manipulate that and send that down there. Then do the lightest first, and then when you get that light going, touch on the other colour. And as I say, because these are so nicely pigmented, they are just going to blend, and you're going to get a gorgeous blend with no effort whatsoever. So I kind of like that one round, and then I'm going to incorporate the purple. Now if it's too much, you can clean your brush off and then just gently introduce that colour down. So we've got a creature, we've got a light bulb, so I do have a very bright almost white lemon colour, so I think we might just do this. There's no point keeping it white because we won't see it. And it just gets rid of the starkness. I always put something on white unless it's something like an envelope, but I think I'm going to make that a kind of a dull envelope, so I'm just going to put beige on that one. Beige is number 403. I'm just going to put a touch of that, and I can manipulate that, and then by the time I've taken it down there, it's just taking that edge off. I do like to get rid of that stark white, even if it's with a very, very pale colour. And my colours for I think that was the one, wasn't it? I think that's the colour. That was number 231. And I used I think that was the turquoise again, 191, and the bluey purple one, I can't remember what colour that one was. I think that was royal blue 130. So we have a kind of a pink caterpillar there. So we haven't had any reds in there, but we're going to have a red fox, so I might not want to do that. And I can't see the dragon's head, so that's a bit scary because there should be a dragon there somewhere. I don't know if that's a flower. There's a pencil. So I think we can have some stripe going on there. I think they're more orangey coloured, but we're going to have a red one. So I have now got bright reds, so let's look for something that could be red. Probably the little pig here. If I start at the bottom, you see how much colour, if that was a paintbrush you would just wash that away, and yet it's given me a lovely red from that rich red here. And if you run out you can steal a bit more, so you're almost using this as a palette. And then, because that's quite pale, I have a highlight now. Oops, so my pencil's got a highlight. There's a snail, so we're going to have a saffron number 52. I think he can be a bit of a saffron colour. And then I have an English red 63, but it's a strange red. It's a kind of, I might have wanted to do the fox that colour actually. Have a look. So do that first, pale. And manipulate this colour. Yeah, this is Mr. Fox colour, English red. it's almost like a russet colour, so that's going to be Mr. Fox. And hopefully by the time it gets down here we won't know that that's Mr. Fox. So I'm going to put the red fox things in. So these are all the bits of fronds that are definitely from Mr. Fox. So I'm going to start them, and of course this is, I might have to change that colour. So that's going to be quite deep, and then as we take that down we're going to get a real orangey fox highlight. So again, manipulate that down, so under there is going to be quite dark. And right at the tip it wants to be almost as white as white. It's a funny angle. The other thing I always say is turn the book so it's handy for you, because if you're working backwards against yourself you'll go over your lines and make mistakes. So again, it's got to be comfortable for you. But I've got a little bit of kind of dark red to light there, and again in here is going to be all dark red, so we can put all that in. So I don't know how many shades we'll end up with, but you can get quite a few different shades. And this is almost full on colour. So once you've done all the underneath, you're going to have a fair bit of colour on the brush, so we can really get some nice highlights going. But this neo colour will just melt into colour. You don't have to do very much with it at all. I'm going to leave that until I do the fox. Just want to get a kind of a bit of a semblance of order under there. That's paler. So we've got a bit of something going on, and what that's done, and this can be really pale, and that's kind of sorted that section out a bit. That can be dark in there. But of course these want to be very pale. And then we have another one of those little creatures. that were bright purple. And that was actually the blue, the royal blue, but it's a very purpley blue. To me that looks like French ultramarine, so you could use French ultramarine there. Again, if you mess about too much, you run the risk of I just want to do something else because I've now got some purple on the end, so I want to get rid of that. I need to do this blue cat under there. It's a smoke grey blue cat. And if you need some more colour, use it as a palette. I mean, basically it's a paper palette. You've just got some more colours in there than others. So we could do with brown there, and I kind of like this one's raw sienna, number 36. And I don't normally use my colours from the crayon because you can't always see what colours you want, so I normally like to use my colours from my colour book because I've got the 10 shades. So you should easily get 10 shades from each stick of colour quite easily. I don't think we've got any more of those. We've got a few of these ghosty creatures, and we've got some more clouds. So if we get some more cloud done, again, that kind of just makes everything else a bit clearer. Need some more clouds. I think we've done with clouds. So again, you know, this is all I'm wasting, so I'm not doing so bad. Well, they're different than I don't think these are professional watercolours, Neos. They're good quality pigment, but the Derwent art bars are professionals. The Derwent art bars are professionals, but the reason I stopped doing it is because I had so many people telling me that they can't get them anymore, so I thought there's no point using them. I use them, but there's no point me making a video about them. That's why I was doing the comparison between those other two. But they don't make them, they don't produce them anymore, so it confuses people if I make a video. So that's the reason I don't. But I prefer the Derwent art bars, have to say. Love my Derwent art bars, because they are professional watercolours. I know they're good, and the other thing is that all the Derwent light bars are light fast, and not all the Neos are. So again, you know, these are not professional. They're good, and you know, they're very good, but they are not professional watercolours. And I've always played with them like when there was a stick, when they came out like this, and they were just watercolour pastels. They weren't called Neo Colour 2s, and they weren't called Neo Art Bars either. They were just good quality, but they're not light fast and they're not thingy. So, but that's the reason that I don't do any more videos with them, because you can't get hold of them. So obviously, people only want to see what they can use. Yeah, they have stopped producing them because I wanted another tray for them, and I emailed them and they haven't got anything to do with them. And she said, oh, we've stopped producing them. I thought, yeah, I know that, but you've probably got some plastic things kicking about. But anyway, they can email me about that, but they can't email me about my colour book. So I've given up. So as I say, that's the reason that I don't talk about them. It's very simple. They don't make them anymore, so there's no point. I think you can still get hold of some, and you can. I think there's a set of 36, and they are gorgeous. No, the box I bought a box of 36, and then I found a website that that had them individually, and when they sent them, they were all poor quality. And he said that he would. I think I paid £80 odd for them all. I bought some other things as well, and he said he would knock me £10 off because they were so bad. He knocked me 50p off. And the same when I got the Neos. I got the green one and it was used. And I thought, well, so I was not impressed. And I'm so cross I can't possibly email him anymore because he doesn't care. So not impressed at all. So, and they are very crumbly, but they're gorgeous colours. They are some completely different colours to the Neos, and that's what I loved about them. They had their pastel colours, they had their earthy tones, they had the brights, and then they had another set, and I can't remember what it was now off the top of my head. Oh dear. Well, I don't know how you can still use them if they're broken and melted. I think you can still use, it's still pure watercolor. But yeah, that's you can't get them from that particular shop. But I know somebody said that they were on eBay, but they will be old stock, so it's difficult. But that's why I don't use them. I don't use them when I'm using the videos because there's no point. Because I have so many requests, and it's not fair that I should be using something so gorgeous and you can't get it anymore. Yes, Jane, they had some on Amazon, didn't they? But obviously they're going to be old stock because they haven't made them for a while. I mean, mine still worked, it's just that they were pitted at the end, but they were old, and I knew they would be old, but what he said was, somebody should have emailed you to say, we've got them, but they're not in pristine condition, and I would have still bought them, but for them to arrive in that state. So I thought he was an okay guy, but as I say, he said he would knock like 10p off. I think I bought... I can't remember how he's in the box, how he's in the set. I think it's 16 a set, and I think I had 36. I think I bought about 30 from him. But they were expensive from him. They were more expensive because he had more colour range. The ones that were £1, I think I only bought quite a few, and they were beautifully wrapped. So again, you sometimes you just have to. Yeah, well, the colours they are pure watercolours. Oh, Macy says that they are gorgeous, but obviously they're either a knockoff or they're not the original ones. Oh, they're very old, but even mine are old. Mine were pitted. Mine have obviously been in out, and people have picked them up and played with them and put them back again. But my colours are fantastic. I just touch the edge like you do with the Neos, and you get that gorgeous colour. I'm just wondering what this tubey thing is. I think it's a dragon, but then I can't find a dragon's head, so that's kind of a bit strange, but I think that's a dragon bottom. So unfortunately, as much as I love them, I probably won't be using them. When I do the fine art, I use them, but not for colouring in. Not really for colouring in. So I think I want a bit of a red dragon going on, so bit of red. I'm sure this is a dragon or a lizard. And then I need a bright green. So that one's number 210. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that on there, so I can get a highlight if I want one. Oopsie. And the red, whoops, I think the red was number 70, scarlet. So again, a bit of red. It's actually gone into a flat colour as this. But there's no reason why that red, look what that red's done to that bright green. It's dulled it down. Because if you want a grungy green or a shadow, you don't add black or grey, you add a touch of the complementary colour. And that gives you the perfect shadow. So squeeze the brush this time to get rid of that green and red. So it's back to its colour. So I've only wasted that, so you know, you got to live with that. Yes, they may have been Jane. I didn't like mine. I've not even opened them. I was very disappointed. Mine were mushy, so I think it's just one of those things. It depends where you are on in the world, what condition you get your things. I have to say, I was a bit disappointed with mine. So I think she can have a pink dress, perhaps. Put her in a pink dress, but a very pale pink dress. So again, I'm not scratching colour all over. And I do have a little bit of flesh tone. I didn't actually buy the flesh one. I wish I had now, because this is the original, which is 20 odd years old. So they do keep. This is slightly different pigment. You see, this is not as creamy, because they changed the formula when they made them Neos, and that's a little bit of a difference. But then the colours are about the same. So I think I need a new flesh colour. And that's apricot. I think we might have apricot hair. Let me have a look at that one. So we'll mix those together and we should have a strawberry blonde. A little bit of hair there, I think. So we have a strawberry blonde. Number 80, carmine. I think we're going to have a bit of a red rose. So there's lots of little tiny things here, and yet by picking them off one at once, we've done quite well. It's just coming up to an hour and 5 minutes, so I'll pan out and you can see how we've got. So thanks for popping by, everybody, and oopsie, wrong one. Yeah, the touch screen's gone. So we've got quite a lot done. We've more than half filled that, and then we've got the foxy face to do. But I quite like the colours. Not too much of a watercolour effect, but it's just a little bit of a variant. And it's an easy way to work, is scratch a bit of colour. As I said, what you could do is scratch every colour, every little bit of colour in there. So I'll do that and I'll show you what I mean. So that's the fox, and I've actually missed the leaf. Look, you do that a lot with the Kirby Roseanne ones. So I've scratched a bit of grey, olive green there, and then we want another cloud. I don't think we have any more clouds. Oh, I missed a bit of there. That's a bit of cloud, and she's got ears on for some reason. I'm going to do the background, the fox colour, unless it's definitely a cloud. So here we've definitely got a bit of cloud going on, so I'm going to put that there. That's like a cogwheel, so that's not a cloud. There will be some more clouds because I don't think Kirby can help himself when it comes to clouds. That looks like it's a sea. So let's have a look. Well, we've got a cup there, so we have a cup, and I think we called for not Venetian red, it was English red, wasn't it? English red. So what you could do is, they're actually waves, but that's not a wave. That's part of Mr. Fox. And that's part of Mr. Fox. So what you could do is scratch this colour in like this. And we've got a little cup there, so I think we'll have an orange cup. I haven't got a lot of orange about, have we? So again, scratch a bit of colour there. And we've got some more red fox in there. That's a person with a hat on. That can be I've got some greys, so I'm going to put that there. I think he can be a bit of a fawn colour. The olive's in there. There's something in there that I'm not sure what it is, so I'm going to put that dark. And what we're going to do with the bird, I think we'll make the bird kind of pale brown. There's a little handbag with a heart on, so we need to sort that out. So this is what I meant about putting the colour in. So you put the colour in, we'll have a pink purse. Which was number raspberry, that's a raspberry one, which was number 270. And we have Indian red, which is 75. And so just scratch that little bit of colour. What else have we got? We've got these little creatures. I normally do them bright yellow, but I think I might do them bright purple or pale purple. So again, just scratch some colour into them. There's an awful lot of those little creatures. And they seem to be everywhere. So I think they're little Pokemon things, aren't they? So I kind of find this bright yellow one quite nice. So this will be for the little round ones. Again, there seems to be quite a lot of those. And all I'm doing is just a little bit of colour. Not too much, because well, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. They can all be the same colour, but they're going to be orange. These are going to be yellow. So that one wants to be purple. And this wants to be purple. And then we want a bright orange. And I might actually go for a proper pink, I think. Maybe a proper pink. Oh, I think you can be pink. There's only one of him. You can be pale blue. And so by doing this and putting colour where I want it, it's quicker. Let me see if we've got some more of these little creatures. So they've all got that little bit of colour on them, so that when I get where I want to be, there's another yellow one there. And there's another yellow one there. You see, you find them all over the place. So I've scratched the colour. Now, if I rubbed across, you get maybe a little bit off, but that might contaminate the page opposite. So what you need to do is to put a piece of paper between. It can be photocopy paper, it can be printer paper, it can be tracing paper, baking parchment, it could be anything. As long as you don't mind it damaging, because a little bit of that colour may come off on the other side. And then you just shut the book. And you take the book and the water brush with you. And then wherever you are, if you're at the beach or if you're somewhere where your crayons will melt, and these will melt if it's hot. And then you just kind of think, okay then, here we go. And you just manipulate that yellow. Now, you may want a baby wipe with you. You may want a baby wipe. But apart from a baby wipe, you just go around, and I do all the palest ones first, but you don't have to. Purely because it's a paler colour. And you will end up with a lot of yellow on your brush because you've been touching a lot of yellow. So these are light paper palettes. You're manipulating all that colour, but you've got quite a lot on the end there. So you just sit and take your time and colour in all these little things that are covered in colour. And again, I think I've done them all. So you clean the brush, didn't wait too much, and then you pick on the next colour, and that's all you have to do. And that makes it like, I don't actually remember them, but I'm sure we had them in the 70s, the magic colouring books where you just had a wet brush and colours appeared. as a child, that was magic. Well, this is the same principle. I've actually got more purple, so I'm going to colour that hat in. This is the same principle. You've used your Neos, but you've left them at home, and let's face it, if it's a tin of Neos, I don't fancy taking those to the beach or on the train. You can leave them at home, and you've got, and you could do it with every page. As long as you put something between them, you could do every single page ready. And you can be a lot neater than me, but I'm just kind of... So I've got rid of all that purple. If I start under here, there was a tiny hint of purple, but of course it's gone now because that blue is very strong. So now we do all the blue creatures, and that's all you do. It's a really easy, stress-free way to colour. Now, I don't always want to colour like this. It's quite kind of slapdash, as I call it. But certain times of the day, certain times when I want to colour, but I don't want to be taking lots of things with me. And hospital's one. I'm stressed about going to hospital. I don't like them. Doing this keeps me from running out of the door. So it's a good thing to do. If you've got to visit somebody at hospital and they're asleep, but you have to be there, you know, it's a good way to colour really quickly. How many more blue creatures? So it's basically a shortcut. It's not quite as shortcut and artistic as having the colours in squares like I have here, and I have a lot of control. I can get 10 shades out of every crayon. I can't do that with this technique, but I can. It's the next best thing. It's not actually taking any colour with you. It's all in the book ready. So I think I've done all those. Just going to touch that. So I'm going to clean the brush because I want to do this. I'd forgotten this particular leaf. And there was another leaf, I think, another bit of leaf I left out. And that's all you do. So you do need a baby wipe or a tissue. A clean tissue would do. It doesn't really have to be a baby wipe. A clean tissue would be okay. I think he should have been yellow, but I've made him dark. I thought he was a cauldron, so. But I've got a nice highlight on him. And again, you know, he's coloured in now. I don't have to worry about him. He's done. Unless I do his belly. So that's a really quick way to make everything kind of portable. So I would say he's half done. That was the most difficult bit, all the little fiddly things and working out what's what. I still missed another one. And it's not going to go anywhere until I activate it. Then once it's activated, you don't have to worry about your photocopy paper because it's become a watercolour. So you don't have to worry, it's done. Just going to darken these up a bit because I think they're a bit too... And because look how much colour we've got. And because you've only scratched a little bit of colour, you're going to end up with some really nice highlights. So thank you for watching. That's the end of part 1 of Mr. Fox in Animorphia with my Neocolor 2s. Just scratching colour with the 1derwent No. 1 water brush. Thank you for watching.